everybody. Welcome to the Real Life Podcast. We're so glad that you're tuning in. This is the place where we do our best to talk about real life, real issues, real stuff, real messy, the tension. Sometimes all those places that, you maybe can't ask those questions, but you can ask them right here. And so I'm your host, Dale Satram. I'm here with my great co-host, Katie Jones.
Hey, guys.
Katie, how you doing?
Great.
Now listen, we have a special guest today, but before I introduce that special guest, we got to check in, okay? So, how you been?
I have been good. Not as good as you.
Oh, stop. Why are we even going there for? Come on.
Well, I know I find your new habits amazing and fascinating, so you got to share a little bit.
Not really. I'm telling you things in private, and now we're going public with them already. Where are the boundaries, Katie?
Okay, you'll have to tell me beforehand.
I see.
Don't share it publicly.
Okay.
But this is inspiring.
It's a lot of pressure.
No, you tell them what you've been doing.
I think it's cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, sometimes, right, you get in ruts. We get in ruts.
Well, you worked out for as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been working out. I am a workout guy. I want to stay healthy and I don't like the whole concept of getting old. I know it's going to happen, but if I'm going to slow,
don't like the concept.
I don't like the concept of getting old. It's hard for me to deal with. I just want you to know. All right? So I'm going to turn 60 in February. No, I'm not having a midlife crisis because I'm kind of past that, okay? But we just get in ruts, and sometimes our routines that used to be they're good and they're healthy, but sometimes we had to bust out of them because I think that we should be committed to growth our whole life, and that's hard. It's hard to be committed to growth as you get older, and so I just recognize that you're kind of coming off of a season, entering into a new season. And I want to be intentional with that, and you reevaluate life, and you start making changes, and so this is one of the changes that I am making, and
which is
let's go. So, special guest is already chiming in.
I'll never come back.
This is Sam, by the way, but we'll get to that. So, okay, so I just want to take my workouts. So one of the changes is I want to take my workouts to the next level. And so I'm learning how to do that. I am no expert at that. So I'm just learning how. I'm working out much longer. My workouts are around 2 hours, 4 times a week. And
in one section, right? 2 hours at a time.
Yeah, 2 hours at a time.
Wow.
And
that's a lot.
Yeah.
It is. It does include some cardio, but it's not split up evenly, okay? Much more weight training and lifting and whatnot, and that's on purpose. Lots of times they say that you can't, build muscle when you're older, not old, older.
Point the finger.
Totally not true.
I never called him
Don't
old.
listen.
Never came out and said
no.
that.
So, anyway, working out longer, really working on, just my diet. I'm not dieting. That's not what I mean. Mm-hmm. It's just, so much more protein. Looking at the type of carbs.
With those 2 hour workouts, you got to have the protein.
Yeah, and
you're eating
your
fuel,
intake of
right?
fuel. You're needing fuel.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. I'm experimenting, seeing how my body responds, and it's really been fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work, but when you see increase, you see gains, you see change.
Yeah.
It just motivates you to do it even more.
Yeah.
So. I don't have it all figured out. I'm learning. I'm having fun with it. It's changed my schedule, but I have more energy.
You're carrying Lisa
I'd say that's the best part.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Right,
Carrying Lisa around. Here, baby, come on.
Yeah,
Let's go.
that doesn't take
all
much.
4 grandkids at once. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. It's awesome. Anyway, so it's been fun.
Awesome.
So it's been fun,
I love
and
it.
it's just really broken up the routines and the monotony. And
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
We'll pick your brain on it every week.
Every week.
We'll
Just
check
talk through it.
in on it. Yeah. I think, I cannot be the only one that finds this stuff encouraging. I love when people are just excited about growing and I like the word you used, experimenting with yourself, because I think lots of time people just think of like, oh, I got to diet, but they're not paying attention to how they're feeling, how certain foods make them feel, what certain calories, what their energy levels. So
I'm eating more than I've ever eaten before calories.
Yeah.
But
you have to.
You have to, but I'm losing weight or shape in other areas. I mean, it's like you think you're going to eat more and you're going to get fat.
Right.
It's just the opposite happens.
Gain muscle.
Yeah, you really are. I mean, so it's kind of exciting and fun and.
Yeah. And I would add one more thing to your little talk there is because you need to find something you love. Like work out and do something you love, not just because it's famous,
so
popular,
true.
the newest thing, whatever the diet is and that.
Yeah.
Or your buddy has results or whatever. You want to do something that you love and work out so that it stays.
Yep. Lifestyle and
and obvious you love it.
I do kind of love it. Yeah, and then. Yeah, and you see
those numbers going up on the.
It's fun, man. Yeah, it is. It's like boom, baby, let's go.
Maybe that sounds crazy to you, but cycling sounds awesome, which is what Sam does.
Yeah, and I like motion. I like being outside.
Yeah.
You know, so those are the things that are.
We got to introduce this guy.
I know. We probably should just introduce Sam.
Yeah. Well, okay. And listen,
the special guest
is Sam Stuckey, Pastor Sam Stuckey.
That's right.
That's right. So now listen. This quick little context. Pastor Sam and I have known each other for a very long time.
Yep.
We have worked together here at Foothills for like 17, something like.
Something like.
I mean, like 17 years. This guy has stuck with me. Crazy. I mean, through it all. And I mean, so there are huge rewards in heaven for him for that right there. So. Anyway, it is great having you on the podcast, Sam.
Yes.
I like what you guys are doing. It's good to be a part of it. So.
Yeah.
We're trying, we're learning.
Gonna love Sam. Quick little story that'll make him uncomfortable, but we love it.
Well, you do that to me.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Sam was probably one of the first people at Foothills that made me feel at home because I remember making like a little bit of an off. I don't remember what my comment was exactly, but the essential point of it was like Christian music didn't always do it for me.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam was like, me neither. And like so he helped me out with finding some good, like actual good sounding Christian bands and stuff. But it was just nice to hear somebody that goes to church be like, yeah, it's not always my thing either, and just like down to earth. So he's a special guest. You guys will love having Sam on here. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So
anywho,
they're probably wondering, what are you guys going to talk about today?
Yeah.
So, Katie, where are we going?
Wonder no less.
Well,
they probably saw the title. So, we are going to be diving into some current modern parenting styles and getting these guys' take on it. You have grown kids, you have a teen son.
Yep.
And you guys both are great fathers. So
and you have littles.
And I have littles, yes.
Yep. So it's all three of us here.
Yep.
You're way behind.
So I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about these. But first, I was going to bring in an article and get your guys' thoughts on it. It's not crazy random today, and it's not Florida Man. That was Sam's idea, by the way. Yeah. That was all Sam. Yep.
I had somebody text me and they said they love Florida Man.
Oh, there you go, Sam.
So there you go.
You should be our producer. Yeah. Okay, so this is the article. So China limits kids under 18 to 3 hours of online gaming a week. So China has announced that anyone under the age of 18 can only play online video games for 3 hours a week, specifically between 8 and 9 p.m. on Fridays, weekends, and public holidays. They can't play at all during the rest of the week.
Oh.
The new regulation tightens restrictions implemented in 2019, which limited play to 90 minutes on weekdays and 3 hours on weekdays. Or weekends. So the end of the article, I'll skip to the bottom. It says, so how do you actually stop kids from gaming?
Oh.
The new rules place the responsibility on those running online gaming in China. They're supposed to make sure all the players use their real names when signing on. The new regulations only apply to online gaming, and experts say it is still possible for gamers to play offline.
Of course, because they got VPNs that break through. Kids are kids.
So what do you guys think on that? Especially since you got a son.
Yeah, we're going to let him be the expert there. But before we do, the question that I have when I listen to that is why? Yeah. Why does a communist country want to limit, besides limiting freedoms, blah, blah, blah? But I think they know something. Is there anything in that article that explains the why? Did you see anything in there? Or is it just saying this is what they're doing?
Oh, yes. Yep, I did. I skipped that part. Yeah. Oh. Chinese authorities said the restrictions were intended to help prevent gaming addiction and promote healthier growth of minors.
Oh, sure. Yeah, trust the government for that.
Yeah. But there is all kinds of data out there about how these crazy things and how they are addictive.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely true. I mean, that's not even worth debating.
Yeah.
So you have a communist country who sees that.
Okay. Well, a communist country motivated probably by the wrong things.
Of course, their motives suck.
Yeah,
okay, we know
I'm
that.
not advocating for
this. No.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what's your question to him?
I want to your thoughts. So as a dad of a teen son,
who's
let me
a
know
gamer,
your thoughts. Now,
kids-
obviously, what PD said, communist country.
Yeah.
But are they onto something here, or is this craziness?
Yeah, and I don't think you'd have any parent disagree with that statement that there's maybe too much online gaming, right? There would be no parent that would go, oh yeah, more is better. I doubt.
Yeah.
But I think for me, number one, it's the role of the parent to evaluate, and we'll get into that, and that could segue into what we're talking about. It's the role of the parent to evaluate how their kid receives and does online gaming, right? Or anything online, or anything at all, really.
Yeah.
Not the role of the government, for crying out loud. Get out of my life. Let me parent,
Let me play Call of Duty for longer than 90 minutes.
But is it absolutely valid that it can be addictive? Yes.
Yeah.
Can it be dangerous? Yes. Can all kinds of bad influences happen as a result? Of course, right? In anything that your kid's involved in. So
I know.
I don't have to regulate at this time because we regulated early on with my son.
Okay, for other people that have sons that are like, how did you do it when they were younger?
Yeah.
Share that.
Yeah. We just said it's time to, you have this much time and you can use it however you want, because I gave him the responsibility of regulating the throttle on that and just going, okay, you've got this much time, bud. Use it however you want. And then I started keeping track. And then I all of a sudden didn't need to, because my son kind of took that on himself.
Did you ever have moments where you had to be like, hey, get off, and it was an
Absolutely.
argument?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah. It was always tense when you do that, right? Because they're in the middle of a game. And for my son, online gaming is social. So he's an only child, right? His friends are a long ways away. We live in the country, right? So it's social for him. So it's not the game, and it's not the addiction that is. It's the social piece that he's created.
There's a connection going on. He needs that connection.
Yeah. And so, he has Kurt as a youth pastor. Well, Kurt plays with him, right? I want that to happen because I know Kurt's a good influence. And Kurt has got a friend who lives in Dallas, and they play online, and Emery's met him, and I've met him, and they're really great influences. They talk about life when they play. It's very different than, I think,
the norm.
The typical, yeah.
Sure.
So those are things that we keep an eye on, but also I don't regulate that interaction because I want it. So
good to know.
Kids are free to say things too online to the right people because they're not face to face. Sometimes things come out of them that are, they would never say face to face. They don't have the courage.
Right.
So anyway,
so
some of it's good.
Good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but to have the government regulate that, ridiculous.
Was there I know I'm sticking on the gaming thing just because I know it's so big.
Yeah.
Do you guys regulate what kinds of games?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And especially early on.
Sure.
Especially
talk about that a little bit. What were the regulations? What were the things you looked for when you're?
Yeah.
Selfishly, I have a little boy that I know is coming up in the next 10 years or whatever.
The online piece, or the PvP, or the gosh, I'm not up on the new terms, but anyway, the piece where there's interaction with another human being on the other side, where there's a forum or there's a chat, right?
Right.
It was never allowed to happen with someone I didn't know.
Right.
Okay, ever. And then it was also never really allowed early on. He was 8 years old playing Minecraft, and that was before Minecraft had an online setup, right? So I was regulating all of that because I don't want him to have conversations with whoever computer
complete
generates.
strangers.
Yes, exactly. And if you've ever been in those arenas, and I'm rarely, they're toxic for anybody really. So we regulated those kind of things early on. It was apps like Fruit Ninja, right, and things like that. So those are safe and those are fun. Okay. And then I played too. So I played too. I'm not a gamer, right? I never was, even as a kid. I had them, but wasn't very good. So I played too. But you just dive in, so you see what they see. Teach me about this, son. And then I had the gift of a very involved grandmother, Emery's grandmother. She was playing too, so she's in her 70s. Playing Minecraft, right? So
that's a cool grandma right there. I'm just saying.
Yes, and I'm sure you guys do something similar. But you have a world now that you've created with them, and you're in it with them.
Yeah.
So
that's good stuff.
Yeah. So for when your baby boy grows up and he's into that, and I bet your daughters will be too, because it's not gender specific anymore.
Sure.
Go with them. Go with them. So.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the parenting styles, another, just a random question, but it's on parenting. I've been seeing these videos. I want to get your guys' take on this, popping up a lot, but it's probably because my algorithm is moms and kids and teaching them the dangers of certain things.
Yeah.
There's almost, I don't know if it's necessarily a trend, but it is where parents will be in on something with a stranger.
Oh.
Planned
in an effort to
teach
train.
them the stranger danger. So you're like, I'll just paint a picture of the one I just watched. It was all these, I mean, they couldn't have been more than 4, like in a classroom,
kiddos,
and all these kiddos sitting in a circle, and a guy in a mask comes in with a bag of candy and asks the first kid, do you want some? And he says yes. And so he reaches in the bag, and the guy grabs him, takes him out of the classroom, and all the other kids are screaming.
Traumatized these kids.
The guy comes back in and is like, who wants candy? And all the kids are like, no, like freaking out. What are your guys' thoughts on, lots of people were like, hey, it's better this scenario than a real one, and then there's tons of people that are like, you're traumatizing the children. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna go from a part of my experience right now are grandchildren.
Yes.
And so that scenario right there. So listen, kids are so different in how they process traumatic things.
Yes.
And so we just walked through, or we didn't, my daughters did, where there was a school here locally, and they had some traumatic things happen. People die or accidents, and that happens all the time. And how schools deal with that is very complex. No criticism here, but just seeing how one of my grandkids processed that, understanding someone died, and to see. And they might be a little prone to anxiety and fear. Okay, and so it was very traumatizing. Sure. And so now they go home, and now you have a week and a half of no sleep. They got to sleep with mom and dad because they're visualizing. They're having nightmares. Okay, they're young. They don't have the ability to deal and emotionally process some of this stuff. That's not where they don't have the brain development yet, the emotional development yet. That's not where they're at. Right. 5th grade, high school, junior high, it's different. So how you could do things, it's going to be different with kids and with age and maturity. So you're talking about 4 and 5 year olds. Holy cow! There might be some kids you can come away from that and not be traumatized, but how many other parents now are going to be dealing with nightmares or whatever with their kids? So. That's fascinating that they would do that at that young.
Yeah. I think in an effort to protect, so I guess it would make a great viral video, right? Because you get lots of comments. So
lots of clicks on that one. Okay,
but in an effort to protect, you're terrifying, you're traumatizing in an effort to protect your kids. It just doesn't make sense to me. Rather than to teach them awareness, to teach them that not everyone is good.
And we're using fear.
Yeah.
You're using fear as the primary motivation, which is something that really bugs me right now, because it just seems like the world, the government, a lot of institutions, we want to create fear in order to control people, manipulate people, influence their behavior. Yeah. I disagree with that completely. Yeah. That is not the best motivation.
No.
It damages people. So. Yes, I think they do need to be taught, and there does need to be an awareness, but let's not use fear as our primary teaching tool. Completely disagree with that.
Right, and then it also dismisses, I think, the intelligence of a child. So yes, they're innocent, but I think kids also are born with, in a lot of ways, they're born with kind of a sense of right behavior in adults, if they have healthy adults around them. And so they're like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right, And I've had interesting conversations with my own son when he was little about hugs. We do that consent thing. You want to give a hug, give it. You don't have to, right?
Yep.
And it's the same idea. It's like, what is your sense? And again, they're children, but gosh, do we have to terrify them for the rest of their life? So that they're safe?
But see, those are some of the soft skills I think that as a parent we should be teaching our kids.
Yes.
You're trying to teach kids EQ, emotional intelligence. You're trying to teach them that I can read the room. I can read a situation. Quite frankly, kids have the ability to do that far younger than we think they do.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh,
I think so.
they're not dumb
No.
in that. They can sense something's wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something is not right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
And then to empower them with the idea that they could self-rescue in some ways,
Yeah.
you know, and again, it's not always perfect, and I wish it was always kids
Yeah.
could do that.
Right.
But to empower my son, it was important in our journey
Yeah.
that he could self-rescue in many, many different ways. Like, get yourself out of this trouble if you're, you know, that you're in. And so I have many stories to share about that, but but now's not the time. But I would love to think that at 4 years old they could go, nah, this ain't right, I'm out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and think about your your Kinley's your littlest.
Mhm.
Sorry, I should probably not have said her name, but
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, so your littlest. Think about your littlest and about her response to that situation. That you'd be parenting your way out of that.
Oh.
for
Oh yeah,
months
she'd be
and
traumatized.
months, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, every kid is so different.
That's
but
just it.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much on exactly what you guys are saying, on board with that, because we've had a lot of conversations about, like, you know, strangers don't ask you guys
yes,
for help.
yes,
A stranger, you can
Yep.
you don't meet any new people without mommy or daddy.
Right,
like
right.
but it's like a fine line trying to figure out how to not get them to be fearful of people,
right.
but also
Yep.
you know, instill in them
Yep.
certain safety.
Of course, that's a
precautions.
fine line, but that's your job as a parent to
Yeah.
navigate that with your kid.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
your responsibility. Welcome to the journey. You know, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then when you have, and every kid will be different.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
the
the
other
thing.
So
Work.
true.
Oh,
I
work this
already
way
know
with
that.
this one.
Yeah.
Oh, what? It's not working here. Now I
Yes.
gotta adjust my tactic because they're different kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so your two daughters, I know
Yeah.
growing up, very different.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Very different in the way they saw those things, and you parented them very different from my perspective. But then look at your grandkids, because they're now a mesh of
They are.
two adults and maybe even
And,
additional.
yep,
You know,
and you
just because of the way
see
things
those uniquenesses in them,
Yeah.
and you just see which ones can deal with change, and which ones go with the
Yes.
flow, which ones can deal with tension, and which ones are prone to anxiety. And you just see it all.
Yeah.
And you're like,
And how
oh.
you deal with, like, you don't yell at one of them. You know what I mean? You're not going to be sharp with one of them because you know that would crush
Oh,
their
just
spirit.
destroy them.
Yeah,
Oh
right.
my gosh!
Which
Just
is never-
knowing that someone's that. Well, we had kids like that. You know, one kid you had to be a little more firm with. The other kid, just knowing that dad's mad at you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh,
devastating.
that's
Yeah,
100%
that's
my girls,
son,
right?
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's 100% what everything you just said. My oldest needs a little more of the firm.
Yeah.
Like, needs the
Come on.
and a little more harsh sometimes. And my son for sure needs it. But Kinley in the middle, she hates to have anyone mad at her.
Yeah.
Right.
Hates it. And sometimes it's so hard for me to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, did you ever run into things where one of them thought you were being unfair because you were treating the other one different based on their personality? Did you ever run into that?
Yes, but
How close are they in age again? A year? They're less than a year. Years.
Yeah.
18 months.
18 months.
Oh.
that's
Oh yeah,
right.
year and a half.
Yeah.
They were only one grade apart in school.
That's right, yes.
Sometimes they would have the same friends
Yeah.
because there was just one grade apart in
Yeah.
school.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but we did eventually have conversations with them in terms of that issue. Yes, we're going to try to do our best to be consistent. We say that with them, but then at the same time, we told them straight up, and it was probably when they were in more junior high, because
Right.
once your kids start becoming teenagers, they're professionals at pointing out your parents'
Your
hypocrisy.
consistencies.
Can't
yeah.
wait.
They're amazing at it.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're
and,
gonna
and,
have that
and you know what really sucks is they're right a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so that is hard
Right.
on the parental ego.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would see things that weren't fair, but we would have conversations, say, listen, we're going to do the best we can to be consistent, but at the same time, you're different people. God made you different. God did not make you like your sister. You're different. And so sometimes we're going to do different things because you're different people.
Sure.
And so
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
those were multiple conversations as they grew up in our house.
Yeah. And multiple times.
Multiple times. That's not a one and
Yeah.
done. That's like,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, dating, like you. I remember the journey to dating because they were in my youth group, right? So,
Good. That's
the
painful.
journey to dating-
I
And
don't want to do
one
that
could
again.
date, the other couldn't, right? So, I can't imagine raising two. I only got one, right? So it's easy
Oh,
on me.
wait, no matter
you know?
how many you have, it's got its challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It
had
is.
Kinley, my middle, the other night tell me it crushed me because The other two are a lot more vocal about their needs. They're very like,
Yeah.
you don't have to miss a beat with them because they demand attention, in their own ways, sweet ways or whatever. But Kinley, the other night, I was just telling him, you know how much I love you guys, right? And Kinley's like, yeah, I know. Sometimes I just feel like you love the other two more. And I was like, so trying to figure out how to, she needs something
Where's
extra.
that coming from?
Yeah, and it's a little bit of that classic middle kiddo feels,
sure.
But trying to navigate that is tricky.
Well, I think that segues pretty good into our 6 seven parenting styles.
Sam, look at Sam.
7 parenting styles.
Katie Googled 7 parenting styles.
These are the parenting styles that Good Housekeeping said are the most.
There's the authority.
Does that still exist?
Yeah, is that really still out there?
The most popular. So I would love to get your guys' take if you think of biblical principles that don't match up or do match up. Speak them out. So the first one we have, I'm pretty sure everybody is familiar with because this is probably the biggest one right now that I see.
Sure.
Gentle parenting. So here are the bullet points. Gentle parenting is a parenting style known for compassion, respect, and trust. Right. Parents who are not considered figures of authority are charged with managing kids' emotions through empathy. Gentle parenting has great results, but also takes a lot of effort. Okay, so those are the bullet points on gentle parenting. Let me hear your guys.
What?
Yeah,
what are you looking at me for?
2 dads.
Yeah, 2 dads.
Gentle parenting.
There's a lot of dads that do gentle parenting.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That I see on social media.
Social media.
How do I know how it's going? I don't.
Okay,
I
listen.
mean, their videos are.
Let's get this on the table. Of course, as we go through these parenting styles, I was reading through this, and see, we watch all this stuff on social media and whatnot, and we think that parenting is some kind of a binary approach. I gotta find the right parenting style. It just doesn't work like that.
This is so important.
It is not like that. Okay, so gentle parenting. I need to be. So it's this or that. It's you got to ditch that. It's not binary.
No.
So when it comes to gentle parenting, of course, there are times, where biblical principles, we're commanded to be patient. We're commanded to be gentle. We're commanded to love. There is, if you can't develop, and even dudes, a gentle side to you.
Especially dudes.
Especially dudes.
Get that going.
Because we have to have this peace in us.
Yes.
You better find it in your marriage, but that's another topic.
Right. Amen.
Amen. And so it's not this or that. Gentle parenting, there is time, the gentle approach in that moment is the correct approach.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's not the only tool in your parental toolkit.
Right. Yes.
You're going to mess your kids up if that's all you do.
Yeah.
You're going to manage your kids' emotions?
I totally agree.
Wow.
That was the one that stuck out to me.
How
do you manage your kids'
emotions? How do you manage a toddler's
You can give
emotions?
space for them, but
work it out.
Yes.
I used to say this, never enter the emotional world of your children.
Amen. Yes.
Don't go there. That's a crazy space in there.
Yeah.
Wait till they're teenagers.
Right, exactly.
And you will never win if you enter their emotional world because they will always have more emotional energy than you.
So let's drill down on that idea though, PD. What you don't mean is that you don't feel with them as they feel.
Doesn't
That's
mean
not
non-empathetic.
Compassion.
Doesn't mean non-empathetic.
What does it mean?
Doesn't but we get caught up in their emotions.
Right.
We just do. We get caught up, and we start. We are still the parent, and if you don't keep that, it's tension. You can't fully define it,
right.
But you have to maintain a level of separation, because all of a sudden, if you're feeling everything they feel, if you're emotionally with them, not always in a good way.
There's no captain to the ship.
Yeah, it's chaos. That can be an emotionally chaotic.
Yes.
So and then trying to manage their emotions. Isn't it our job to teach our children to manage their emotions? Yeah. And that's probably another parenting style in there, but that's empathize. But because all relationships, if we don't connect emotionally, we can't even be friends.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So yes, we're connected emotionally with our children, but oh my gosh, that phrase, managing your children's emotions.
Oh, good grief.
Oh,
well, instant fail. There's no way you can.
Right, instant fail.
Yeah, tell your toddler. You told your toddler no, so they're upset, right? oh, I'm so upset. I'm a bad parent because I told them no.
Right.
Oh, I have to manage their emotions.
Yep.
Excuse me, put the knife down and stop sticking it in the outlet.
Yeah.
Manage that, kid,
right.
because I just saved your life in the, house.
Something I always try to keep in mind, obviously not a parenting expert whatsoever, but something that helps me is like I'm raising adults. So what are the healthy habits that they can take with them from what I'm teaching them now? Like the other day, I really got so upset at like my best friend because my best friend and her daughter Everly is Everly's best friend. And cool. I thought she was coming over. There was a little miscommunication. She wasn't coming over. So Everly was so upset.
Sure.
I've been wanting to play this game with her since I woke up. And now, my plans are ruined. She was really starting to get mad. And I just told her, I was like, it's okay to be mad. But you can't yell and throw things. Which she doesn't do very often. But she was having a day. We're tired. And so I sent her to go take a shower by herself and take some time. Good. And she actually came out and like apologized for, so it wasn't like I was like, you can't be mad, you can't
win.
But I mean, I'm not perfect all the time, but it was like a really good moment because I was like, I felt like I was doing something right because she came out and apologized and she was like, I'm just really upset, and she was able to like, it's good for them to voice what they're feeling.
Yes.
You just can't allow their feelings to dictate their behavior.
Exactly, and that is the Christian walk. Your feelings, to quote a very wise man, your feelings are indicators on the dashboard. Mm-hmm. They're telling you something's wrong, right? They're not driving the car.
Great point.
Or trying not to.
Yeah, that's so good.
That was your quote, by the way, PD.
I know.
Okay.
I was going to let you run with it, guys. That's fine. You just go.
But if I don't train that in my children, their lives are ruined.
Yeah, emotions
Their lives are ruined.
Yeah. Our emotions are indicators, but they're not navigators. We don't navigate life through our emotions. They indicate health.
Great
they
point,
indicate there could be a problem. They indicate that maybe you should pull the car over and check
they're
under the hood.
Right.
They are important because if you ignore the dashboard lights on your car, you can blow your car up. Right. But so we're not saying ignore them, but they indicate. But you don't navigate life through your emotions. It's, I know where I'm going. I've made decisions, choices. We have biblical truth. We have to do what's right regardless of how we feel, and we have to figure out what that looks like. Yeah. We don't develop that in our children. They're lost. Mm-hmm. They're going to live life by their emotions, and of course we have a society that is doing that right now. And,
absolutely.
And more often than not, the gentle parenting method, that's what I see leaves the children. Mm-hmm. And it's been kind of a thing. I remember it, the gentle method happening actually when Emery was born. I remember seeing that more often, so 15 years or so. Mm-hmm. And I can see those kids that were parented that way. They're in that state. Yeah. Why is the world not changing? Because I'm emotional.
I feel this way.
Yes.
Why isn't everything...
My boss yelled at me.
Right.
I didn't make a deadline. He's mad at me.
Yeah.
He's a jerk.
Right.
You didn't do your job.
I need my parents to regulate my emotions.
Exactly.
Yes. So why doesn't the world do that? Because that's the next step.
Right.
Why isn't the world regulating my emotions?
Such a good point.
Yeah.
Well, and then when they go, when they go into teenage years and their emotions are so much bigger attached to their bodies changing and developing. Not that toddler emotions aren't big too. It's just their feelings are so huge.
Yeah.
If they don't have the skills to go, wait a minute, this may not be reality.
Right. Yeah. See, that's what we got to teach our kids. Your feelings are real, but they're not always a reflection of reality. Oh my gosh.
That's a tough thing.
But it's a tough thing.
Yeah.
We got to remind ourselves that as adults all the time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Great points.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on to the next one.
Keep going.
That was a big one.
Keep going.
Okay, so the second one is authoritative parenting. These parents set high standards for their kids, but also give them a lot of guidance to help achieve those standards. Parents are likely to use techniques like positive disciplining instead of strict my way or the highway rules. Okay. Studies show that kids raised in this way often do well socially and academically. Sure. So this one, authoritative, is not to be confused with authoritarian, which we'll get into later.
Yes.
So I want to just make that difference.
I'll go back to the earliest statement, and I think this is very important. Something advice my mom gave me: let the kid show you how to parent. pay attention
That's
to
good
what
advice
your
right there.
child is doing. So it's on me to be a student of my child.
Yep.
And again, I have one, right? So I would have loved to have 7, but I have one. And so I've gone to this place as a parent where I'm watching my boy. And I'm going, how does he react to this? How do I need to change? How do I need to do that? So there, again, I want to reiterate Petey's point, because it's the only way out of parenting well. Is depends on the kid, depends on the time, depends on the situation. Use every tool in your toolbox. Learn the ones you don't have. And there's time for gentle parenting.
Yeah.
There's time for authoritarian parenting.
Yeah.
And there's time for authoritative parenting. And there's the biblical principle you asked for. There's a season for all these things. And sometimes they changed, the day of the situation. Because I'm not going to come at an authoritative or authoritarian parent when we put the dog down. Stop crying.
Right.
No. You're showing weakness. No. I'm going to come across as a gentle parent in that moment, because that's what's needed in my child's life. Right?
Great
Now,
point.
if it's 6 weeks later and we're still crying and it's now manipulation,
And now
that's a different story.
Right.
we need to move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've given space.
And why aren't we moving on?
Exactly.
What's the need in my child that has to manipulate this scenario so that they can be emotional? Anyway.
Yep.
Great
So,
stuff.
so as we talk through these parenting styles, use them all. Use all the good
Sure,
things
there's
in the
some
right
times.
times, because you're a student of your parent and you're holding, with one hand you're holding your toolbox of parenting, and the other one you're holding Jesus' hand because you're gonna need it, right?
Would you help
It's
me
not-
understand?
yes.
Okay, because
Parenting
it's
is not easy. Don't ever hear any of us say that ever.
It's not.
Parenting is not for the weak of heart. Parenting will show you all your inconsistencies and flaws, like
So
we've alluded
true.
to.
Yeah.
Shine a
And
light.
so there is a beautiful time for authoritative parenting.
Yeah.
But it's not every time.
No, and all these too also sometimes they're more appropriate because your kids change. They go through different seasons, and so
Yes.
how you parent when they're 4 is really different than how you're 14.
Yes, and if you're still doing that,
Oh
you're-
my gosh!
Ooh.
And so many parents make that mistake. They can't morph their parenting style with the ever-changing needs of their kids.
Yeah, and I see that predominantly in younger parents.
Yes.
And because their lives are busier as a younger parent, maybe, or
Yeah.
there's more distractions. They don't really realize what is the highest priority as a younger parent, because you don't have enough space in your life, or you don't have enough wisdom, really, experience, really, to go, oh, wait a minute, baseball's not the most important thing,
Right.
or something else, So anyway, I think it's a struggle. I had a chance, I didn't want it, but I was given the opportunity to be a parent at 33, you know what I mean? Not 23, not 21 or whatever. And so you have a very different perspective as an older parent. You guys had kids when you were young. How old were you at the time?
Lisa was 23, I was 25, had a first kid. And then, 18 months later, boom, number 2.
Here we go.
So it was boom, boom. and it was like, oh my gosh. I thought I was mature until we had children.
Right.
And then it showed me that,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I'm equipped for this task.
Thought I was so selfless until
Oh!
they asked to share my water and leave floaties in it.
Oh.
You're
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 thought I
not
was
joking.
patient.
You're being serious.
I'm being dead
Yeah.
serious. Yeah, I thought I was like, oh, I'm not a selfish person. I'm
Right.
patient. Nope.
Nope.
Kids,
For
shine a
us,
light on the worst parts of yourself.
Marriage was a piece of cake until we had kids.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It was
Oh.
easy.
Yeah, I agree.
It was like, what's this big deal with marriage? This is easy.
Oh,
Yeah.
see.
Child number 1. What the heck happened?
See, that's fascinating because, and I know this isn't everybody's situation. I feel like our problems were all before kids.
Really?
Absolutely, and I feel like we both
It kind of buckled
had
you
to
down.
mature
Yeah.
in certain areas and
Yeah.
realize what's important after
Yeah.
the kids. So
Yeah.
the kids have helped our marriage like
That's
you
cool.
wouldn't believe, which is
No.
weird. I know that's not everybody's situation,
No,
but
no.
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
fascinating. To
We
hear
figured it
that.
out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you-
It was touch and go there for a while. But
Yeah. But I
We
mean,
can get
many
more into
parents
that.
don't.
Yeah, later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. Many parents don't,
No, they
Yeah,
don't.
Yeah.
very true. Yeah, you're a team.
Yep.
For sure. Before I move on to the next one, I want to just get your guys' quick thoughts on positive discipline and what that means to you guys.
Yeah.
I know there's lots of different definitions of that, but when you guys hear positive discipline,
Yeah.
what do you guys think on that? And I'm trying to think of an example of what positive discipline looks like.
Yeah, it would be reinforcing positive behaviors is what I would.
Is it more encouraging as far as like, oh, like if you do this, you get this?
Yeah.
It's more focused on that instead of the negative, right?
Instead of the punishment.
Right.
That's
okay.
how I understand
the
it.
negative consequences.
No. Yes, and then without the guilt and shame.
Right.
I think a lot of parents unintentionally go down that road. Certain phrases and how we talk to our kids, talking down, talking at, not treating them as individuals.
Right. Just your frustration, your level of tiredness.
What's wrong with you? Phrases like that. You're a bad boy, bad girl. Ho! Okay, whoa! But sometimes that stuff comes out, especially if they were raised that way.
Right.
And so I think that we have to discipline without the guilt and shame. Choices were made. Yes, there are consequences, but separating the person from the behavior.
Yes.
So in my understanding, it would be all of that, and still having consequences, especially as our kids got older. But even when they were young, we constantly would, in advance, as much as we could, tell them the choices. Okay. Plan A, Plan B. If you choose this, there will be these consequences. So just don't. And so sometimes they would choose the wrong thing because we all do that. There wasn't even an argument. There wasn't even emotion. It was just simply, well, you chose. Here it is.
Here's the consequence.
Yeah. It was just a real matter of fact kind of a thing. If they got upset, we just stayed matter of fact. Well, you made that choice. It was, no guilt and shame. It was just this equals this. You knew that, and we just went on. We still loved them. We didn't withdraw any kind of affection. We didn't withdraw. I'm going to ignore you.
Right.
There was no weird passive-aggressive behavior from the parents.
Right.
Okay,
there's no less love.
No, hey, we love you. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
but you're bearing the consequence of your act. It's very important. And I think putting some time into thinking about how your kid receives those conversations is important too. And so you can stay away from the phrases, but if there's an intentionality that you're in maybe implying in ways you didn't really realize, you need to know that. You need to see that in your kids. So anyway, go ahead. You were going to say something, Katie.
No, it's a little bit of it goes with what we're saying, but it's a little bit of a curve. So hopefully I don't throw you guys off too much, but it made me think of parenting and growing up in a religious community. Well, a lot of Christians, this might be a theological argument here, believe you're born bad. You're immediately born bad.
Sure.
And I can see that in some people's parenting.
Sure.
Where do you guys land on that?
Well, I believe we're born
I know.
bad.
Yeah, I think we're broken.
The heart is deceitful above all else, incurably wicked.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's very clear in the Bible.
Sinned and fallen short.
On and on. But that does not mean that every behavior is bad.
Right.
Okay, so we're broken and we're separated from God. The Bible is really clear. We're born into sin. It's clear. I mean, the Bible says that.
Anybody who's raised kids can see it right away.
Right? Oh, that's sin nature, baby. That comes out.
Oh, you're doing
I joke
it.
around all the time. Little sinners. I mean, they're just little sinners. Okay, but that doesn't mean we talk to them like that, or we treat them as if they're bad, or they're defective, or so there is that.
You made the comment. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
That you someone will say you're a bad girl, you're a bad boy.
Yeah, be careful.
So that's what it made me think of a little bit. But so you're saying.
But see, that is a statement of identity. And I think that's what we had to be careful as parents. We use statements that communicate identity. So yes, biblically, theologically, our identity is we're born into sin. We're born spiritually dead. All true. But there will come a time when you can begin to explain to your children that they need a relationship with God, and that whole narrative and the story of why we follow Jesus and whatnot. But the last thing we want to do is, again, to raise our kids with this guilt and shame. I'm defective. There's one thing to say, yep, I'm a sinner. I can say that, but my identity isn't that.
The defection.
Oh my gosh! If I think I'm defective, so
it's a great. Yeah, I'm glad we.
There's some
talked
tension
about
in there
because
with
there are sinners that are loved by God.
Yes.
And so your kids, and here's another thing I think we should maybe talk about, is your kids' first understanding of God, and this is terrifying, is the way you treat them.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
the first understanding of how God loves is the way you love them. That is scary.
Yep.
That is scary.
Almost feels unfair, right?
It feels unfair.
I'm a broken person,
Yeah.
and I got to represent
And
that?
now I got to, here I am, all
Sam,
my
that's a great
faults.
point.
But you have to lead with that. I'm not God. I'm going to show you how He loves you. By the way, I love you imperfectly, but you need to meet the God that loves you perfectly. You know. So anyway.
Such a great point.
Right.
Okay, on to the next one. Permissive parenting.
Permissive.
Oh,
Permissive parents do
That's
not.
going to work well.
You guys will love this one. Permissive parents do not enforce rules for their kids.
Yeah.
The stereotypical permissive parents are the ones who see themselves as their children's friend and not a figure of authority. So permissive parents are not the same thing as neglectful parents. Permissive parents are still loving and responsive to their child's needs. Like permissive parents, neglectful parents provide no structure or rules, but they're also totally uninvolved in other aspects of the child's life. Permissive parents are involved, but not in a traditional way.
Yeah. I will go back to my previous statement. There is a time and place for this, okay?
Sure.
And a lot of wisdom that was given to me early on was let your child into dangerous things that in whatever their age appropriateness is. An example is I took Emery a couple years ago to his first heavy metal show. They're very pushy, shovey, violent, dark, right? In the crowd, right?
Yeah.
So I'm scared for him, but I'm there, right? I'm involved. Did he have a blast? Did he learn about himself? Did he enjoy the music? Is it a memory we have together? Yes. If I said no to that, I would have taken those things away from the benefits. So there is time and place to be permissive, like let them play with it. You know, teaching him to weld, right? Well, this is very dangerous, right? But I gotta let him when it's time, because I'm a student of my child. When it's time, I've got to be permissive and go, you can weld, and then I gotta be permissive enough to go, you can weld without me, right? So you have to do that as a parent. So there's time and place for being permissive.
Right, there is, and I think the older your kids get, this is part of parents learning to adapt their parenting style. Where if you don't, especially teenagers, that you don't start giving them more rope, you pulling back, letting them make their own decisions, and letting them taste the consequences. We use the phrase in our house all the time. We will let you, when they start getting older, we will let you make manageable mistakes. We will let you make manageable mistakes. Now, if you're going to make a mistake that's going to alter your life, I will step in.
Right.
Okay? Because you're in my house, I'm going to protect you
control
as much as you can.
Yeah.
I will step in.
Yeah.
But if this is a mistake that you're going to make this choice, I'm going to let you do it so that you can feel the consequences, feel the sting. That's not going to play out the way you think.
Right.
But I'm going to let you do it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's permissive.
I'm going to ask on the big things that come to my mind for teens, parents with teens. When you guys tell me what you did on these or what you're doing.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. Dating, R-rated movies, going to parties.
Sure.
So those are just the first ones that came to my mind. So when you say permissive, and there's parents that are like, "Oh, but we can't
control."
Yeah.
Right?
How do you find the balance with what you're talking about, and also still having a parent? You're still a parent, even as a parent of teenagers. You know what? Where do you?
Yeah.
What do you guys think on those?
It is a tough decision. It is a tough decision. It changes for every kid, but you gotta risk it for the biscuit. You gotta give small opportunities.
You got on a T-shirt.
Yeah, you're right. Parenting, risk it for the biscuit. You've got to give small openings, right? Small chances, and then observe, and then parent from there, and then even bigger rope. More rope.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And then, and then,
You prove faithful. I'll give you more. You prove good. I'll give you some more. This was good. I'll give you some more.
Okay.
Or we're gonna just hit a holding pattern right here. I need to watch a little bit longer, and then they get mad or upset, and it's just like, well, to move from here to here, I need to see this. We need to see this. So you're always communicating. So part of this is you just really have to work hard at trying to keep communication with your kids. In those teen years, a lot of parents blow this. Okay.
Yes.
If your kids are talking to you, you got to figure out why. We were really blessed with being able to maintain this open dialogue with our daughters while they were teens. So we could process this stuff. We could talk about this stuff. There was a time when we had to let our kids sometimes go silent. I'm going to wrap my wife out here a little bit because she just wants to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And the girls came to me and says, Dad, Mom's just driving us crazy. She's just like I feel like she's interrogating us all the time. Right. So
in an effort to know,
yes.
In an effort to love,
it was. But we talked, we processed. Like, hey, baby, let's just you need to back off. And stop pursuing them. And I bet if you stop pursuing them, they will pursue you and actually talk more. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, they have a beautiful.
So great to have two of you, two perspectives.
Yeah, and then they have a beautiful relationship to this day where they're mom and daughters. Come on, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I totally agree. You brought up dating, and I'm kind of in that season, and I don't like it. Okay?
Arranged marriages are better, but
right, yeah.
Kind of frowned on these days, but
I don't like it at all because I've observed. I was a youth pastor for a long time. If you don't know who I am or where I've been, anyway. I've observed the pain, the toxicity, the life-altering experience that dating can be, especially in junior high and high school. And so, I've heard parents set an age, and I've heard parents say, no dating until this or that, or, dads with daughters, you can't date my daughter. Right? Mm-hmm. Bad move. I think you've got to be able to observe again and adapt and try it. And so we're in that stage where it's like, okay, if you are interested in dating, then it looks like this, okay? It'll be like this, and if those things are violated, then we're going to have a different conversation. And so I, again, with all my experience with how horrible this can be, have done something and reached out and talked to Pastor Kurt, who has a very different perspective than I do. Because I'm like, no relationships, yucca, right? Mm-hmm. And his perspective is very different than my own. I trust him because he is involved in loving and helping my kid grow. And then his perspective is totally unique and different. And so we've tried what he suggested. It's working, So you have outside input from healthy places, godly places. You have observation of your kid, and then you're going to give them room to make a mistake. Which for me is tough in dating, because those mistakes can last a lifetime, quite honestly, or worse.
Sometimes the lessons though last a lifetime.
Exactly.
See, we're forfeiting these things that being overprotective.
Yes.
And I think
we're hurting in an effort to help.
I know, because we're so afraid of the consequences, and I think that this is going to probably get me in trouble for saying things like this. I think sometimes that as parents, sometimes as Christians, we're so uncomfortable with certain topics that what we do is we create forbidden fruit with our kids.
Yeah. And drive them to it.
It drives them to it.
Yeah.
We are so afraid of certain things. We're afraid of dating. We're afraid of sex. We're afraid of these topics, whatever it is. And so what you do is you create this forbidden fruit, so you don't have healthy dialogue, conversation going on. You literally push your kids in that direction.
Yes.
Remove some of the mystique. Try. What can you do to remove some of the mystique? So it's just.
Yes.
But see,
talk about alcohol. Like some Christians are terrified to have kids
whatever it is.
Them drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
So again, it could be anything. I mean, I don't know, but it's I use the example of people who own firearms.
Very good example.
Yes. And so there's just an example. The more you don't take your kids out, if you own firearms and you're not taking your kids or your grandkids out and removing the mystique of a firearm, they should know the safety. They should know how to shoot. Just remove it. Yes. I grew up with guns. Yes. I grew up with it. I was never, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go get my dad's gun. It never happened because we grew up with it. Remove the mystique. Now you have to do that appropriately with these other topics. I get it.
And age appropriate.
Yes. Yeah. But we do this.
Yes.
And so it's like.
Not only that, I think a lot of parents make it weird. So that they can't go to their parents. A lot of
because they don't know how to have the conversation.
Sure, it's awkward.
We have the advantage of being youth pastors.
Yeah. Right, okay? I was going to say.
So we already talked about every topic under the sun as youth pastors, so our kids have no chance. They had no chance.
Yep.
So my kids, to this day, they're like, Dad, that's enough.
Yeah.
Dad. And even as high school kids, Dad, we're good. Okay, come on, talk some more, Dad. We're okay. I wasn't the one getting embarrassed.
Right. and I want you to know
that.
we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Katie, you brought up R-rated movies, and again, I'll have a controversial take too.
I love your take on that.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was something you want to share, but
Well,
please do.
I observed my child, and we were very intentional with demystifying sexuality for him, and not creating forbidden fruit. He had the opportunity. His mom was a tattooer, right? So there's a lot of different things that go on in tattoo shops, right? Different people. She worked with lesbians and transgender people would come in. So anyway, he's familiar with a lot of those things and sees people rather than problems, if you will. In the world of R-rated movies, I don't remember what movie it was, but I'll never forget when that first situation popped up in an R-rated movie. In my parenting, or in my growing up, my parents would drive for the VCR remote and fast forward, which just means you see the scene faster.
Exactly.
It's not like you're not exiting out of it.
You're going to figure out a way to go back and watch it again. What was that? That was
right.
what you're going to do.
Yeah. What is this, and why is it? Why am I thinking about it? So what we did as parents is those things would show up, and we would have no reaction, and the movie would go on, and then we would talk about them later. And I would say, hey, you remember that time that thing happened? This is what was going on. Do you have any questions? So I never wanted to create a situation where I was like, oh, don't look, because that's the forbidden fruit.
That's what we do.
Yeah, and so, I mean,
what?
I'm not showing my child, pornography.
No,
okay,
that's
but
what we're
I
talking
don't
about.
have control necessarily with what he sees. And once you see something, and this is the concept that we taught him, and we're working really hard to continue. Once you see something, you cannot unsee it. So let's be careful what we see, right?
Yeah, those are just great conversations that we need to have. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think what we do is we can raise our kids. We create this forbidden fruit, but then we raise our kids with that this stuff is so bad and so evil. So the human body is bad.
Yes.
Okay. So
women's bodies
are
it's
just bad.
Sexual.
This is, right.
And there's all kinds of things.
And so we kind of mess up our kids.
I agree. Yeah.
Instead of normalizing some of this stuff, it's like, human body's normal.
Right.
That's how God made it. It has body parts. It has things.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And they're beautiful reflections.
Absolutely.
Of God's beauty.
It's not dirty. It's actually beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And God didn't create people with clothes. Let's have that conversation. Okay. So
This
apparently,
could literally be another episode.
it could be.
Because all about purity culture, because that's a big one for Christians. You're absolutely right.
And then we weird sex out. I mean, I just say Christians are so weird about sex. Yes. I'm just going to say it. They're just weird.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's everywhere in the Bible.
We're coming up on time. This is such a good conversation.
You pastors, buddy.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
it would be a great episode.
Yes, we should.
So I hate to cut
because we are running out of time.
I know we're coming
How
up
do
on
we
an
wrap this
hour
up?
here.
We're not going to get through all these.
We love our kids, and I think we're all good parents.
We
got.
got
Want to talk about it?
3 more.
Okay.
And then should I just pull them all together and
do it? Yeah.
Maybe we should.
Okay, all right, because we had 2 questions from listeners. I don't know if we might have to
make it another episode.
Yeah, we might have to do that. But okay, so we already know what authoritarian parenting is. It's a lot of harsher punishments and high expectations, less loving.
Nurturing.
Okay, attachment parenting. Is another big one I see a lot, but it's mostly, that one's kind of more of a baby phase. It's just a lot of nurturing, touch, physical contact, ensuring safe sleep. These might be the parents that co-sleep for a long time. That could be another thing. Free range parenting.
I read that.
Encourages kids. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just read that when we were going through these notes earlier. I go, free range. I joke around all the time, man. I was free range. I was free range parenting, man. I just come back for dinner when you're hungry. It was a different era, okay?
Right. Hey, and then helicopter parenting.
Yeah.
So, which I think most people know. You're a little bit bulldozy. You got to watch them all the time. You have to make sure they're protected. So those are the last few. Do you guys have more thoughts on these ones?
All are damaging. Having seen it for so many years, helicopter parenting, especially in the teenage years, coming up on the teenage years, 11, 12, 13, If you're helicopter parenting at that stage, in every scenario, you're in danger.
You're robbing of resilience.
Yes.
For sure.
You're going to handicap your kids for the rest of their lives.
Yep. Yep.
For the rest of their lives. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
You swoop in and you remove consequences. You swoop in and you defend them, even when they do stupid things.
Right.
You're swooping in.
Yes. We're in a driving stage, and I will use this just quickly.
Sorry.
We're in no. We're in the stage where my son's learning to drive. He's also got his motorcycle endorsement, right? If I'm helicoptering, he has no ability to think outside of me.
Right.
I need this kid to save his own, to drive well, to save his life or somebody else's, because those are the consequences of driving poorly. Right, or riding a motorcycle poorly. They're not easy. So if I'm over the top of him in every scenario, I'm literally putting his life at risk. And I don't mean to be dramatic, but that's what's going on in driving.
True. Yeah.
So anyway,
no,
you can't do
point.
that. Free range parenting is good, but they need direction. Boys especially need direction.
Yeah, and here's the boundaries.
Yes.
And as they get older, the boundaries get bigger. So you are free, baby, to figure it out in here.
Yep.
So that the guardrails, the boundaries, they keep getting bigger. So you have to give them freedom. But if you give them without the boundaries, then we're good. Then they're lost.
Yeah, because kids are immediately going against the boundary. That's how they're wired.
Yeah, in the free range, it does say that they do still have rules and expectations.
Okay.
That are enforced.
Yeah.
But so it's different than permissive parenting. But it's
Sure.
like, hey, here's the big broad thing.
Yep.
As long as you don't go out of it, we're good.
Right.
And I think that also changes, it morphs as your kids get older.
Absolutely.
Because this is how they develop that. They learn how to self-regulate. They learn how to make decisions apart from us. If you don't give them some level of freedom to wrestle with that tension between this choice and this choice, what should I do? This is where you start seeing that your parenting has worked.
Yeah.
When
Exactly.
This is
Or
they
not
need
worked.
or we got some more work to do. Yeah. Which is both always. So you have to do that. You have to give them that space to experiment and do the right thing or taste the consequences of their own.
Yeah.
Right.
Good
So,
stuff.
And it's terrifying.
It is.
Don't ever hear us diminishing the role or the the emotional way to being a parent or the spiritual way to being a parent. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Terrifying.
It is.
So, and it gets worse, quite honestly. I'm a teenage parent, and it's terrifying. Pray for me.
Yeah,
It's easy when I know this is not what you want to hear, but when they're your age, the
Maybe
kiddo's
a different
age,
kind of.
it's easy, girl,
Easy.
compared to where you are, where you're gonna be.
Yeah.
And I have a son, not a daughter. So anyway,
Yeah.
But you know what? I think if as parents, if you prioritize the relational connection,
yeah, amen.
so that you maintain connection through all the stages that your kids really go through, this is one of the biggest keys. Okay, where you keep that line of communication open, and that's a learned process.
Yes.
You just every stage you have to learn how to keep your kids talking to you. If your kids are talking to you, you can navigate anything. Anything. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's when they stop talking and communicating to you where your influence as a parent is severely limited.
Yes.
They're talking, you have mass influence. If they're talking to you, you will always have more influence than the social media and even their friends.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
So don't lose hope.
No.
That's
They're
great
talking to you.
advice.
You are still the greatest influence on their life. Don't believe anything else.
Yeah, and I told parents that for years, but I learned it myself.
Yeah.
And the maintain is a key word.
Yeah.
Because you gotta
And it's
do whatever
hard.
it takes. Yes, it is hard. Yeah.
So
You guys just made me think of something that I feel has helped me a lot too. Your kids, I think, will always know you love them, but if they think you like them too,
Yeah.
and you're showing that interest you're talking about, I think that definitely is a
Well,
great
learn how to have fun.
way to keep
Have fun with them.
communication
Yep.
open.
Yeah. Enter their world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do what they love
And
to
have
do together.
fun.
Yep. Yep.
It's good stuff. Okay.
Okay,
Anything
there it
else
is.
you guys have
Oh,
before
gosh.
we wrap up?
We better stop
I know, that's
because you got two pastors here. We like to talk.
The people will love it. Yeah, no, it was good. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Sam,
and
for coming
thanks.
on.
Good
You're
to be here.
awesome.
We gotta have him
guest.
back.
We'll have him back. Yeah,
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, for that purity.
This was a good time.
Oh,
culture.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
I'm very, yes, I'd love to
Yes.
talk about that because a lot of that came out in my era. So anyway,
good stuff. I'll be here for that one.
Oh boy,
I'll be listening.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah,
if you enjoyed this, like I know you did, please help us share the show. Subscribe on YouTube and just help us get the word out. And you can always text us your question. It's always anonymous. It's 503-829-5101. And we'll be back next week.
See you next week.
Awesome.